Tonight, we're going somewhere dark. We're stepping down into the mind itself, into a forgotten manor where a council is being held. This is a parable, a kind of gothic noir story that gets to the heart of our own internal frustrations. And the council? It's about to begin.
Think about it for a second. What if every little flicker of irritation you feel, every wave of self-doubt, every single raw impulse, what if it wasn't just a feeling, but a character? What if, deep down inside of you, three ancient spirits were locked in some kind of eternal debate? That's really the question at the core of what we're talking about today.
So this is where our story begins. In this hollowed-out skull of a manor, a perfect metaphor for the mind, right? The fire's died out, it's just gray ash. All the warmth is gone. And in that chill, three entities, these three voices of what's called the Grimion, they gather to hold what seems to be their final, or maybe their never-ending, council.
Okay, so the first one to speak is the oldest, the most primal force you can imagine. This is the id, and it doesn't just walk, it paces like a caged animal. You can almost smell the air around it, damp earth and old 11th century iron. This isn't a voice of reason, it's a guttural rasp, pure and simple ancient rage.
And this is its entire philosophy right here. It howls, "I am the ancient Grom." It couldn't care less about logic or any of your complex emotions. Its whole existence boils down to one single desire, that hunger to vex, to provoke, to agitate, just for the sake of it. No reason, no end goal.
You really got to understand where this impulse comes from. The id wants to gremmen. It's an old English term, a really raw, primal verb. And it's not about just being annoying. Oh no. It's about this deep, almost violent need to stir the master's blood until it actually boils. To be there to witness that exact moment his composure just shatters into fierce rage.
Now, in total contrast to the id's chaotic fire, a second voice descends. And this isn't some beast. This is more like a cold, stiff High German judge. Its voice isn't a howl, it's a sharp, judgmental little chime in the darkness. This is the absolute spirit of negation, the superego.
And its very first words? They tell you everything you need to know about its purpose. It looks at the id with just complete and utter disdain, saying, "Peace, you wretched impulse." See, it doesn't see that raw energy as a force to be unleashed. To the superego, it's just crude fuel for its own much more sophisticated purpose, a calculated, purposeful denial.
So how does it actually do this? Well, the superego takes the id's simple desire to provoke and it refines it into the special kind of self-torment. It holds up this perfect mirror of what should be right next to the master's failures. It doesn't just trip him up, it reminds him that a person of his stature really shouldn't be stumbling in the first place, and that seasons the whole thing with guilt and pride, which makes the agitation last forever.
And now, our third figure steps onto the stage. This is the ego, the weary steward of the mind. It's not ancient rage, it's not cold judgment. It's the mediator, the one stuck with the impossible job of taking this insane internal war between a savage past and a sophisticated present, and somehow translating all of that into a functional life.
The id is absolutely furious with this entire arrangement. You can hear it snarling at the ego, just accusing it of betrayal. "You make me small." That raw, grim power, the kind that used to start blood feuds in mead halls. In the id's eyes, it's been reduced to the petty frustration of a broken pen or a key you can't find. It's just a psychological haunting now, not a real fight.
But the superego? It sees this from a completely different angle. It counters with this cold, perfect logic. It is not dilution, it is refinement. For the superego, this shift from the physical to the psychological is a huge victory. And why? Because by moving the whole conflict from the outside world to the internal world of the mind, they've built a prison that has no escape.
So here's the heart of the conflict. This is the central debate. On one side, you have the id, who sees a dilution of strength. It believes its fierce primal power has been tamed, made trivial. But on the other side, the superego sees a refinement of spirit. The torment is now way more subtle, more internal, and because of that, it's completely inescapable. A trap of the mind is so much more powerful than any battle of the sword could ever be.
And that, right there, is the big transformation. What used to be an action, an Old English verb, gremmen, to provoke, has evolved over centuries into a Gothic condition. It's not something you do anymore, it's a state you are. It's a permanent feature of the mind's architecture.
And this is the truly tragic result of all of it. See, in the past, when a man was vexed by an actual external foe, he had an outlet. He could fight. He could take action. But now, gremian by a shadow of his own making, this complex internal trap built by the id and superego, what can he do? There's no one to fight. All he can do is despair.
And we're not just talking about a bad mood here. This is the result of 1,000 years of friction. 1,000 years of evolution inside our own minds, taking us from a simple external anger to this complex, internal, self-sustaining state of vexation.
Which brings us to our final act. The council ends, but nothing's really resolved. The gremian, this composite being of all three voices, is still the lord of the manor. This story, this parable of the mind, it doesn't end with a death or a victory. It just ends with repetition. It starts all over again, every single day.
And here's the final, chilling summary of how it all works. It's like an unholy trinity. The id provides the raw, primal fire of frustration. The superego takes that fire and builds this sophisticated cage of guilt and pride all around it. And the ego? The ego just provides the mask, the face you show to the world that hides that raging fire trapped inside its inescapable cage.
So what do you take away from all this? Well, the parable leaves us with a pretty haunting thought. As long as we have an inner life, we are going to be vexed. Not by outside demons, but by the very spirits we ourselves create to explain our own feelings of falling short. It's a timeless conflict, playing out forever in the manor of the mind, feeling everything from our daily anxieties to our deepest, darkest self-doubts.